welcome back to the Auto Obsessive Garage. Chadwick with you again. This will probably be the final episode of the Ford Escort service series on this Escort GT. Reason being is I think I'm done working on it. I think it's actually ready to be driven, put back together, and actually enjoyed like a car should be enjoyed. A little update. Things have not been as smooth sailing as the rest of the series has played out. Okay, took the car out to do some performance tests after the last video. Well, it started spitting up coolant in a very bad way. More than just like a little hose leak or anything. So I checked out the car. Unfortunately, all the coolant was coming from the oil pan on the timing belt side of the engine, which pretty much tells you exactly what's happening there. It was definitely a water pump issue. So had to get in there, do the water pump. Of course, I'm not a guy that takes shortcuts on this stuff. You're gonna be in there, let's go ahead and do the water pump, timing belt, tensioner, idler, pulley, and all the other belts while we're in there. So full package deal. I got all that done. I didn't video a lot of it. I'm gonna show some clips from that during this video, but it's not, you know, I don't wanna do like a standard procedural video like that. I think that's a pretty common thing, and on this car, it's challenging to actually film. Yes, the engine's the same as the Miata, but in the Miata, the engine's obviously flipped the other way, facing the front with the timing belt, and you can pull the radiator and have yourself a whole bunch of room to work. On the Escort GT, of course being front wheel drive, the engine's kind of pushed right against the passenger fender area, and you literally have no room to work. There's like 2 inches maybe. There's an engine mount in the way that I kind of worked around. You can get it out of there, but that's more work to pull that. Try to pull a water pump out, trying to work on all the belts, get all the timing covers and everything out. It's more of a hassle on this car for sure, but doable. Anyway, we got it all back together, and no joke, once I pulled it on my driveway, it started making a horrible noise, like a little bit of a clattering noise, which in my experience is caused by timing being off. No way did I mess up the timing. I've done quite a few timing belts. I checked all the marks no less than 5 times before I buttoned it all down. I go and check my marks again. The exhaust cam was off a tooth, like the engine jumped a tooth. Now, no big emergency here. This is a BP Mazda engine, so non-interference. But what the heck caused the tooth to jump just backing out of the driveway? Start tearing into the car again. I'm gonna go ahead and check what's going on. I find a chunk of the rubber that goes around. So this car, just like the Mazdas, has multiple timing covers. They're all plastic with rubber kind of guards around the outside where they come together. One of those old nasty rubber pieces broke off and fell right between the idler pulley and the timing belt. And that is more than enough to cause the timing belt to skip. So there we have it, you know, a piece of old rubber foiled quite a few hours of labor. So got it all back off again. Luckily I didn't have to pull the water pump again. That part was done right. And you know, the water pump's right in the block of the engine, so no leaks, no issue. Didn't have to do that over, but pretty much had to do every other step again. So I just literally fired the engine, which was, you know, a moment you're always scared after something like that happens. Purrs like a kitten, timing's perfect. Now I've got to go ahead and put my accessory belts back on, make sure they're all tightened down to spec and no squealing or anything like that, and make sure everything else is running great. And then we should be able to go ahead and do our performance review of this car. Another thing that kind of tied in that issue with the water pump failure is the fact that when we drained the coolant, if we look back to the last video, cue the video.
Okay, this could be a bad sign. The coolant looks pretty brown. God, I hope that's not oil in there.
All this brown fluid pouring out really had me panicked at first. You know, I thought, oh, I've seen this before. This is definitely oil and coolant. I'm talking about a head gasket issue, cracked block, something horrible. And when I used my block tester and it came back negative, like it was perfect, that made me do some searching, and it looks like a lot of the stop leak stuff that folks put in their cooling systems to stop leaks can turn it that kind of foamy brown color. And you better believe that's what happened. So I think they had a leaky water pump. They didn't want to do the big job. Like I said, this car is a one-owner car. So this lady had it for 25 years and she passed away, and then one of her relatives got it. He wasn't mechanically savvy. He thought he was gonna fix the problem by putting stop leak in, and you know what? That thing didn't leak at all when I drove it before. But once I flushed out all that nasty stuff and put in the new coolant, that's when it revealed itself. That's what kind of led me back to do this whole job. Full circle, That's what all that brown fluid was. That's what initiated this cycle of replacing timing belts. And we're good now. I think we're good now. So we're gonna get everything buttoned back together. There's not really too much to show here. Like I said, this is gonna be kind of a piecemeal video showing clips here and there of the job. But it's kind of just a final touch for the series. Let's get to it, and then maybe we'll show some footage of the car all cleaned up and me being happy and having a great car on my hands. So thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate you guys checking out the series. The Escort GT is, I think, a unicorn of unicorns, especially this example, because A, there's not a lot of these. You can do a nationwide search and I guarantee you're only gonna find a few. That search is gonna get drastically reduced if you search for one owner, and then it's gonna get even more reduced if you search for manuals, and then even further reduced since this one has the Cayman package, which is an optional dealership package. It's a very rare car. You know, it's a super rare car, and that's kind of my thing. So thanks for checking it out, guys. So let's get this thing all buttoned back together.
When you've got a coolant leak and you're searching around for it, you do not want to find this. As you can see, the coolant is draining right down the side of the oil pan here. And there's really only one thing in the cooling system up in that area. And as you can see, it's not going to be very fun to get to. Yep, water pump. So let's dig in there. I think we're going to end up doing water pump, in which case we're going to do timing belt, tensioner, all that kind of fun stuff at the same time. So, sucks. But I think that's the reason there was that stop leak stuff mixed into the coolant. I think someone knew they had a leaky water pump and put that in hoping it would take care of it. And obviously it didn't. So let's go ahead and tear this thing completely open. Just to kind of give you an idea how tight of a space we're working in here. Remember on the Miata, this engine is facing the right way. All the timing components, cam gears and everything are facing forward. And that allows you to remove like the radiator and everything to create more workspace. Unfortunately on the Escort, which is what this engine was originally intended for, the Escort and the Mazda 323 and the Protege, it faces the side of the vehicle and you can't remove anything. I mean, I can move this motor mount out of the way. That's kind of a headache. I'd rather not have to do that. I want to show you how narrow. I mean, look look how little space I actually have. Here are the cam gears, and then, you know, I move this AC line out of the way. But you get down there and look, it's crazy. The water pump pulley is already off. That's why you can see the gear there. But geez, just trying to take these timing covers off is a nightmare. I mean, that's the edge of the car right there. Literally, right here to here. You're talking like maybe 2 inches at the most, and that's being very generous. So very tight space. This is a very slow go repair. Here you have your tensioner and your idler pulley. So we're gonna get on those and then eventually be able to see this water pump. I kind of want to see where it's leaking. You're gonna need to pull the backing plate off first too. So we got a little more undressing to do, but yeah, you can see how this is an incredibly tight fit down there. Okay, I've already removed the water pump pulley. Next we have to get rid of this harmonic dampener. Same deal, 10 millimeter light bolts, 10 millimeter bolts, 4 of them right here. Go ahead and crack those loose. I'll release the tension on the belts afterwards. I actually kind of like there being tension. It makes it easier to bust these bolts loose. Also put your car in 5th gear, e-brake firmly on, and it helps with a little bit of resistance. If not, sometimes you can just spin it and the gears will continue to spin. Here you can see the alternator belt hanging down, and it is pretty crusty. Look at all the cracks. So it's a good time. We're gonna be in here anyway. Why not just have the peace of mind to replace all our belts so we don't have to ever have to do this again. So let's crack these loose. Once you get your engine to top dead center in cylinder 1, go ahead and lock your cams in place. This is a nice little method. Use 2 crescent wrenches, put them on the hex sections of your cams, and go ahead and lock them in with a locking pair of pliers. And that should keep it pretty much top dead center. So when you go to put your timing belt back on, you'll be good to go.
Now this is a really hard angle to capture here, but as you can see, I've removed all the timing covers, and you can see now that coolant is dripping from the bottom of the water pump. So there we go. There's our culprit. just like I thought.
There's really not much to leak coolant on the side of the engine, so I kind of knew what it was. So
We're gonna get up in here and swap all these components out.
okay, here we have the water pump, the old nasty one pulled out, and over here we have the timing belt tensioner pulley with the old spring out, and over here we have the idler pulley. So pulled these out. These look to be OEM. Now this car has a 60,000 mile timing belt required maintenance interval, just like the 1.8s in the Miata, since it's the same engine. So 60,000 miles. So we went a little longer than that. This car obviously has 97,000 on it. Timing belt didn't look too bad, but of course replace it while you're in there. The cause of this was the water pump, and you know, if you check it out, the gasket was in really bad shape, really dried out and nasty, and of course that's your failure point. The gasket's going to fail before anything else. Yeah, if the water pump doesn't fail in spectacular fashion. And this one still works great. I had no overheating or anything, just leaking a little coolant, and replace that gasket on this section that comes out. So nice new gaskets, everything's brand new and shiny. And let's get her all buttoned back up, which is going to be a super fun process. Like I said, this very restricted area to work in, but pulling this water pump out of that like 2-inch area was very tricky, trying to work it up. So well, here's the old nasty stuff. Time to put the good stuff in. Okay guys, starting to look a little better down here now. If you look down there, you see the water pump neck sticking out nice and shiny, brand new. Same with the spring above that, also brand new. Over here you do have the idler pulley, nice and new, and then you can't see it too clearly here, but the timing belt tensioner pulley. So that's all nice and new. Everything's new timing belt on there. Went with all gates. I've had good luck with them in the past. So we'll go ahead. We're gonna get this all buttoned up. As you can see, you already got the valve cover back on it. Obviously when you did this, you saw that I had to remove the valve cover, all the spark plugs, wires. So I'm going to go ahead and put spark plugs in it this time. Valve cover's all nice and done. I had to go ahead, I know we just did a valve cover literally a week ago, so we used the same one over, no reason not to. I didn't see any pinches or anything running along it, so it still looked to be in good shape. I just peeled up the old Honda bond that I used for these crescent circle or half circle areas around the cam lobes and near the cam angle sensor down there. So we did that with the Honda bond, and that's all nice and sealed up good. There's still a lot to do at this point. The next step is going to be going ahead and putting all those timing belt covers back on. Those are kind of a pain in the ass, to be frank. So we're going to go ahead and do those. We need to put all the pulleys back on. Got to also put the belts back on, all the accessory belts. So you know, everything running to power steering, to AC, to the alternator. We got to finagle all those belts back on. So it's a process for sure. And here we have it. This is that little piece of rubber that fell off the timing belt cover and wedged itself between the idler pulley and the timing belt, caused it to jump a tooth. Something this little insignificant piece of super aged rubber can cause quite a headache. It didn't look loose like this. It probably sheared off when it got caught, but it didn't look loose or anything when I installed it. But sometimes these kind of things can surprise you. So always double check your stuff when you're putting it back together. Make sure there's nothing loose, especially around rotating pieces. Especially like a timing belt, you know, something that significant. That would have been a valuable lesson if this was an interference engine. Valuable in the sense it would have been an expensive lesson. So this is a good deal. I'm glad I found it. I'm glad I found out why I jumped the tooth. Everything's perfect. I'm about to put the upper timing belt cover on, and you can see all the other belts are on there. It's new timing belt, new accessory belts. So we'll put this all back together. This little guy, I hate you, but that's fine. You know, I forgive you. So let's get it all back together. Alright guys, we made it through it. The car starts up wonderfully, runs great, and I'm finally done with it. We have finished the Project Escort Service Series. We've gotten the car right where I wanted it to be from the get-go. It runs great. All the maintenance items have been addressed. It's super cleaned up, ready to be enjoyed. I really appreciate it that you guys checked out the series. That you check out the content on the channel. I've really appreciated the feedback and everything. This is, to me, it's a special thing to find a car that's deserving of this kind of attention and maintenance.
it would otherwise be left to kind of rot out there in the world, end up in a salvage yard eventually, who knows. So it's always good to find these cars that are deserving of this level of TLC, take them home, fix them up, and then either get to enjoy them for a while or, you know, release it back into the wild for someone else to enjoy and have a reliable, very nice car on their hands. These are my favorite projects to do. Again, I can't thank you enough for checking out the channel, checking out the content, following the series. We'll get some fresh content up there. In the near future, we'll be putting this guy through all the tests to see how it does. I have a feeling it's not gonna let us down. So thanks again, I really mean that, and stay tuned for some more fun stuff coming up on the Auto Obsessive Garage. Take care, guys.